this is exact. Okay. This is exactly what this presentation is all about. Investing a little bit time into your mental capacity, understanding the things that make you tick, understanding the things that can make you a better project manager. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get things kicked off. Let me know if you guys can see my screen real quick.
Yep, I can see it.
All right, great, great. All right, let me move this, move some things around. Okay. All right, great. So I want to start off by saying, and let's just get this started off real quick. I want to start off by saying that if you want a company that embraces change, optimizes operations, and maximizes the effectiveness of technology, you must harmonize the mix. Harmonizing the mix is orchestrating the balance between people, process, and technology, much like crafting a hit song where all the components come together in perfect rhythm. I believe in this statement because I lived it. And I'm gonna say that again. I really do. I really do believe in this statement because I have lived it. If you don't balance in a company your interactions with the people, if you don't have a mission, a vision statement, if they don't understand who they are, what they're doing, where they're going, there is no way that they're going to be able to have an effective uh, processes for, and they're not going to be able to effectively orchestrate and create better process and leverage technology. You have to have a good communication. There has to be great connection, and there has to be a commitment from the company. So there is nothing in this presentation that we're about to go through that I have not experienced, either by my personal trials and tribulations or triumphs, or witnessed firsthand from someone else. However, no matter how toxic your environments are or may be, you will be judged based on project performance. So I want to keep that you to keep that in mind. No, again, no matter how toxic the environment will be, you will be judged by based on your performance as a project manager. So let's keep going. Let's dive in a little bit more. I want to take a deeper look at how we can apply all of this information in real time. So I want to first welcome everyone to Project Resilience. And I want to work on 5 key takeaways that we're going to get from today's presentation. One, I want you to be able to recognize the noise, recognizing the noise, identifying the sources of your dysfunction. I mean, you must be able to identify what is the noise that's going around you and where's it coming from before you can fix it or work through it. Where's this? Why is it such a lack of togetherness in this company? Why is it so much blaming going on? Why is it so much pushback on change? You must recognize where that's going coming from and be able to decipher how you need to go by and fix it. Next, you want to align people. And that aligning people is keeping the team engaged amidst the chaos. All right. You want to keep the focus on outcome. I always say outcome over output. And I'm sorry, I'm getting into myself. I'm starting to twist around. So forgive me if I start to feel real comfortable, people. So, hey, this is the end of the day. I'm really relaxed and I want you to be relaxed as we go through this. So if I turn around, please, just say I'm into what I'm saying and I'm trying to deliver not trying to, I am delivering my best to you because I'm coming from a place of authenticity right now because this whole topic it means so much to me. But anyway, number 3, streamlining processes, cutting through the distractions. Ooh, this is really a big right here. Gosh, you got to stay so focused when you're working in those toxic environments. Man, you have got to stay focused on the prize, on where you're trying to go. So because there will be people who do not want the project to succeed and they will be in a defense mode. And sometimes it's not about the project, it could be just about you. Or it's not about you or the project. It's about the department or the head of it or the product owner or the person who's pushing for the change. They may not like them. So that's something we all have to be aware of when we're going through this. Next, we want to leverage technology using tools to manage and mitigate stress. And leverage technology to make, we have to leverage technology to make the project more efficient and to mitigate our stress levels. There are going to be some things we're going to talk about as far as apps that we can use and standardizing our ways of communication. In addition, and last but not least, we want to create a culture of resilience, leading the way in adverse conditions. Not only do that resilience, I know it's a huge buzzwords that we constantly hear about and whatever, but it actually means something. It does have an impact. And if people have to understand not just the word resilience, but the impact of what being resilient can be, not only for a team, but for a project, but for an entire company. So I've always said this: the culture of a company will impact the mindset of the individual. And the mindset of the individual will determine the capabilities and willingness to change. I'm gonna say that again. The mindset, the last part, that mindset will determine the capabilities and willingness of a person to change and adopt new technology. And the culture has a huge impact on that individual's mindset. All right. So now I want to do something real quick. Let's go ahead. If you haven't had time, let's go ahead. I want to jump into the polls. Let's do like CNN. Let's go to the polls. All right. So right now, as we've answered all the questions, let's go through this. As a project manager, wow, we're kind of spread across, but I see we are really heavy on 81% on unclear roles and responsibilities. Wow, that is huge. As a project manager, which of the following challenges have you faced the most in a toxic work environment? You're right. Unclear roles and responsibilities. Not saying that you're right, but that's something that has a huge play that everyone is going through. Unclear roles and responsibilities. I get that because when people are unclear of what they're supposed to do and where they're supposed to go and what the outcome is going to be for them, they can be quite resistant, okay? And they can be quite defiant, and finger pointing goes on and blame games. So that is a huge, huge thing there. Let's go to the next one. How confident are you in your ability to lead a team through adversity in a toxic environment? Somewhat confident, very confident. D. I haven't had to lead through adversity yet. Lucky you. All right. I don't mean to be mean, but that is you're in a great position if you have not had to lead through adversity. I know I've had to do it quite a few times, and I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I've had to go through this so many times in order for me to be here where I am today, in order to deliver this information. So sometimes we are placed in positions so that we can learn from them and share that information with others. All right. And I do hear that a lot of people are somewhat confident. And the confidence comes down to as long as you know what you're supposed to do, where you're going, it's kind of good. It's easy to lead. However, it can be challenging when people are like I said, when they don't have unclear roles and responsibilities. So let's move on to the next one. Here, we got a little tie here. So, which mental health factor do you think has the most impact on project success? And anxiety and stress seems to be at 68%, and also lack of motivation and disengagement. Let me ask anyone this, and you can put it in the chat. What do you think out of those two? Well, let's not say on those two, which one has the most impact on lack of motivation and disengagement? What do you all think has the most impact on lack of motivation or disengagement? Let me get some numbers right there. Let me see if anybody's saying, you know what? I am missing. Hang on a second. I'm not seeing the chats come up. Let's see.
So far,
They're
people are
coming
saying
now.
poor
Yeah.
communications.
Say
Some
that
people
again.
poor communication. Some people are saying they think anxiety causes lack of motivation and disengagement. Another suggestion was the feeling of being disempowered, frustration beyond your control, burnout. That's what we have so far.
Okay, good, good. Well, all of those are correct. I mean, yeah, I mean, and it all depends on the environment that you're in. But I want to say this too. I know sometimes we can be environments, but these toxic environments. But one thing that I have learned, and I want to say this, but I think I need to share this. One thing that I have learned in my experience is that when you get in these environments, it's not necessarily how the people are always. It's just who they've become in order to survive in that environment. That is one thing that I've lived and I've noticed. Like I've had team members who have left a particular environment and met them later on in life or in career, and they are some of the nicest people around. But when they were when in that environment, oh my gosh, they could be so defensive, so toxic, the blame game. And it's not necessarily who they are, it's just what they had to do in order to survive. And that was something that I have learned over and over and over again. And in that, knowing that, I realized that it is up to leadership to actually fix that. It is up to leadership to actually fix that. So let's keep this going. Number four.
Marcus,
This is big.
we do have a response to your previous question.
Oh,
Ambiguity and poor communication, lack of support, and unclear expectations also came up and getting a lot of support in the chat.
mm. All right. Okay. Thank you, guys. And your that ambiguity is huge there. When people don't know where they're going, or when teams don't know where they're going, what they're responsible for, what they are here to do, and how does it align with our overall goal? Yes, there's pushbacks. There's a lot of resistance, and there's a lot of, how can I say it? There's a lack of engagement in there because nobody really fully understands how this is going to impact them. So this is great. I want to thank you guys for being open and putting your sharing this information with us in the chats. So here on the last fourth, on number four, building a supportive and empathetic team culture, 94%. That was when went through these questions and answered them. That was one of the biggest things I said. Building a supportive and empathetic team culture. That is huge. And that really is, to me, I'm not saying it's the right answer or whatever, but that seems to be the biggest choice that everybody seems to feel that is the best way, a strategy is the most effective for teams working in high pressure environments. They all need to know that we're not against one another, but we should be here for one another. Okay? So as we go, so thanks for the answer. So we're going to go and keep this moving along. We're going to have a second set of poll questions, but we're going to keep this moving along here. Thank you so much. All right. So here's the big thing for project managers, and I love this part of it because this slide here and this information here is where you will understand the impact that it has on you. Um, the hidden impact of how toxic work environment affects project managers. Now, the biggest thing here for me is understanding we have all these things such as increased stress and burnout and the decision fatigue, but how does it impact project managers? So, the increased stress and burnout, the chronic stress from dealing with constant conflicts and trying to break up email wars that are going on and unclear directives of I'm dealing with that something like that today, but we're both myself and another project manager are sitting on this huge project and are kind of unclear of what our next move when we draw out this process design. So having those, it takes time because you're sitting there wondering, do they want this or are they sure you want that? And we're not fully understanding what the clear directives are. So we're waiting on feedback. So anyway, having that chronic stress from dealing with constant conflicts, unclear directives, and unrealistic expectations can lead to burnout. Also, decision fatigue, just being tired of having to make decisions when you're being bombarded with conflicting demands. One, the product owner may want something that a key stakeholder or the VP may want something different. And there that conflict there is continuously going on, and you're stuck there in the middle of it. It can get how can I say, quite quite testy, I would say. I've been in the middle of a conflict where there was my uh, superior as well as a CFO did not like each other, but yet I was supporting both from being a support over technology and application and ERP. But that conflict there caused so much, how can I say it, rift between the departments or whatever. I didn't want to I didn't want to go side with the CFO, even if they might be right because of fear of retaliation from my superior. It was just one of the hardest positions to be in. And I'm saying right now, just looking at it, and feeling that, but being in that position, in that environment, when they put you in it, you almost have to choose sides. And I just didn't want to. I wanted to focus on the process. But in those toxic environments, those processes are they truly much don't really care at times about the process. They get too much into the battle between who wins and who's not. So you have to be sure that the decision making and things that you have to do in order to get through that process, you have to be clear and stay online and focus on where you're trying to go. So the reduced motivation and engagement, lack of support, and constant negativity can drain motivation, causing manager disengaging from their role. Also, impaired leadership ability. A toxic environment undermines leadership effectiveness, making it harder. It just makes it so harder to inspire, motivate, and lead the team towards successful project delivery. We know that. And the conflict escalation, struggling when you kind of struggle to mediate team conflicts or handle difficult personalities, that can lead to unresolved tension and increased disharmony. So, and all that is going to just, it wears down on you as a project manager. And you're declining, your communication skills start to decline. So the constant noise and the misunderstandings within teams can lead to breakdowns in communication and misalignment on goals. How many are experiencing any of that right now? Just show of hands, pop up there. Just how many have experienced some of these things currently right now? If you know how to go down and show engagement, you can just pop your hands up. Everybody's good. Okay. There we go. Okay, good, good, good. Awesome, awesome. So, with that stated, when you go through this, when you have all of these elements and how can I say, these things that are happening to you as a project manager, you become cynical in a lot of ways. I know for me, that was my biggest challenge sometimes, is not to get cynical, but it was very hard to. But in cynicism and team dynamics, in an article I read from Tammy Shabari for a project manager's hidden crisis, project managers exhibiting cynicism receive team effectiveness ratings 35% lower than their peers, directly impacting promotion potential and team morale. So I say this when you start talking about 30% lower, this comes down to no matter what, and as I said it earlier, no matter what's going on, no matter how much conflict you have to manage, no matter how much ambiguity you have to decipher through, no matter how much you have to keep the team focused on that, even if it's not something coming from you, if you're not able to do that, and if you're not able to do that, you're gonna feel that effectiveness when it comes down to how they grade you, how your team effectiveness, how are you in leading the team. It's kind of unfair situation, but that's the true meaning about it when you're in that toxic environment. So it's a must that you keep your focus on the prize, as I say, keep your eyes on the prize. So 35%, again, 35% lower than their peers. That's the effectiveness rating that a project manager will get, even when they going through how they manage projects in toxic environments. So let's keep this going. Next, I want to talk about identifying first. We're going to the those five strategies or keys we talked about. The first one is identifying key dysfunctional behaviors in teams. Okay. This is something that you have to be aware of. So, one of the things I want to give you a quick story real quick. I was when I was a VP and over a department that was a pretty bad toxic environment, I would say. I had a I had an analyst who was on my team. And one day it got to the point she was already no more than 4 or 5 months into it. Not mentioning her name or anything like that, but very smart person, very good at what she was doing. But one day she just came in and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't take it. And she didn't have a job, didn't have anything lined up, but she wanted to stop. She wanted to get from out of there. She had had dealings with the controller where they were just, I mean, the controller was just so mean, I would say. They were so, how could I say it, hard to deal with. But the the issue is not issue, but when you come in and you ask about them, everybody would say, "Oh, don't worry about the controller. That's just who they are." As you get to know them, you'll see that they are really nice. And that was just everybody had learned to just be that way. I remember later on, I finally had a time to sit down with the controller and talk with him and whatever, because I thought the same thing about him. Very hard to deal with. I didn't even want to deal with him. One time I sat down and had a conversation with him and found out that it was a very nice guy. Come to find out that there's a history with the company that he was dealing with, and he just felt that he just had to protect himself. So he may come off a certain way, but he really wasn't that way. So I go back to that whole thing of being in a place where the people are not as bad as we think they are. This is just how they've learned to survive in this arena. So that's when my whole mind shift changed, that I have to we have to, as project managers, keep people focused on the prize, on the outcome, and what it means for them. So let's go in here and see what some of the key dysfunctional behaviors are. So, four key dysfunctional behaviors. We got four: poor communication, reduced employee engagement, personality clashes, and disengaged leadership. Now, for poor communication, I've always said that a lack of vision or mission for company projects, lack of communication from top down, this will increase misallocation of resources and misalignment on company objectives. I've always said that if people want to know, teams want to know who they are, or as a company, what we do, who we are, and how we go about doing our work or going about implementing this project. We just want to know those things. If we're not communicating that on a consistent basis, you're going to lose people. And they're going to go out and there's going to be resistance. There are going to be talks, and they're not going to understand why we're doing things. Everything we must do must align with our vision and our mission of the company. We must say who we think we are, or who we are as a company. If we're putting something out on the website, that we're this innovative, collaborative company, and that's not far from the truth, people are definitely going to be disengaged and look at the company as, how could I say it, fake, for lack of a better term. I mean, there's a better term, but they're straight out. This is fake company, and they're going to treat everybody in such a poor manner because they think nothing they're saying means anything. Reduced employee engagement. We produces siloed departments and company cliques. A lack of innovation and agility is non-existent when it comes to company pivots. When you're siloed, it's hard to have that collaboration to create innovation, to move through uh, processes that are stagnant, to create new innovative processes. And there's a lack of risk taking because uh, there's a lack of risk taking and also an increase in finger pointing. So when you have that reduced employee engagement, you want it to be you want everybody to be very collaborative. So these are things that you have to look out for: the reduced employee engagement, personality clashes. Personality clashes occur when differences in work styles, values, or communication lead to tension and conflict within the team. These clashes can disrupt collaboration, lower morale, or hinder progress if not addressed. And last but not least, disengaged leadership, which is probably the biggest cause of all of this. When your leadership is not disengaged with what is going on, you're gonna have all of these things, from conflicts, ambiguity, conflicts, clashes between departments and people. Leadership has to be engaged and lead the way, and the people and the teams need to see that leadership being there. There has to be a message from them. They have to buy into whatever the leadership is saying. So these are things that you want to look out for when you see that and a work area is a workplace is it's toxic and it's stressful. Poor communication, reduced employee engagement, personality clashes, and disengagement with leadership. How many of you, real quick, before we go into the next thing, how many of you can say that the disengagement of leadership is a big issue with your company right now in the area wherever you're working on?
Looks like we
Awesome.
have.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is, I think disengagement of leadership has been for me one of the biggest things that have I have saw that is a big reason why there is a toxic work environment. So again, these are all the things that we want to look out for, and these is what we need to do. We'll go through some things here. So aligning
Marcus,
team, yes.
not to cut you off, but there was a really good comment put in the chat by
Oh,
Miriam.
okay.
She
Thank you.
put, I
Yeah.
found the best way to deal with the toxic work environment was to reinvent myself and open my own business almost 6 months ago and consult to a large corporation. However, make sure you take care of your team on the way out the door. Additionally, if the issues are not resolved, the company often finds it needs to close the door. Sorry about that. And there was another comment that said, for me, disengagement of leadership also feels like lack of accountability.
Yes, yes, yes. And I like those, especially because I'll be honest with you, that's where I'm coming from. With a lack of leadership and disengagement, that started for me leaving and starting my whole company, starting my whole compelling message of harmonizing the mix. All of this is allowed me to put together this whole compelling message of embracing change, optimizing operations, and maximizing effectiveness of technology. And a lot of this comes down to the engagement with the people. So I'm gonna get through this. Next thing, thank you for the comments, people. I really appreciate that because you're hitting on some nerves that brought me back to where I was. Anything you say, it just takes me back where I'm so willing to share some of the issues that I've gone through, or not issues, but my path, a career path. So aligning team engagement effectively, foster open communication. So what to do when you want to foster open communication. First and foremost, you got to have a psychological safe place. And if you're in a toxic environment, um, that's going to be hard. So during that project, you as a project manager have to create that. I had to create that for my department, a psychological safe place. And I tell you, it meant so much wonders. It did so much for us because productivity just shot up. I mean, we had open communication. I shared myself of things that I have that happened to me, and what it did is it took ourselves outside of the toxic environment and we created our own safe space that allowed others to come into that safe space. So, what I want to talk when you talk about foster open communication, what you want to do is you want to regularly check in with your team members. You want to also encourage that transparency. And you do that by being transparent yourself. And also, you want to create open channels for feedback. You know, feedback, if you can open a channel for feedback on yourself, people will feel, how can I say, they will feel uh, better about sharing themselves for feedback. Well, sometimes people want to know if they did well or not, but are unwilling to for fear of what someone may say to them or how they may say it. But I've always shared that I want to get better. I want to do better. So I always keep the channels open for myself. And what it does is it opens up other people to have that same mentality because this is how we're operating on this team. And why it works is that it becomes clear, it becomes consistent communications, and it prevents misunderstandings. It also keeps everyone aligned on goals and expectations. So again, that regularly check in with team members, encourage transparency, and it works because it's consistent. It prevents misunderstanding, and it keeps everyone aligned on goals and expectations. Second, you want to set clear expectations and roles. When you do that, you want to clearly define each team member's role and responsibilities and set expectations for deliverables and deadlines. How many of you right now, I know that was a big thing that we asked earlier, are dealing with expectations that you aren't unsure about for yourself? You're just, I don't want to say winging it, but what are you doing for yourself as far as are you clear on what you have to do? Any answers out there? Any question, any feedback on that? All right. Not much. Okay. Um, no, that's okay. That's okay. So when you want to set clear expectations, in order to set clear expectations, you need to make sure you have clear expectations as well. So why it works. Clarity reduces confusion. Clarity also boosts confidence. Clarity also ensures everyone knows how their contributions fit into the larger project. So if I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to do it, and when I'm supposed to do it, I have a clear expectation. I have clear confidence on whether I'm going to be able to meet that or the path that I have to take in order to meet that. I'll know what questions to ask, the details to get. So be sure that everyone has to know that in those projects so that there is no misalignment with what they need to do. Also, you want to keeping the team engaged. Now, one of the things about keeping the team engaged is that you want to power autonomy over decision making. You know, you want to trust your team by delegating tasks and allowing them to make decisions within their roles. I found that by delegating more and creating that commitment to help my teams develop. That was one of the things when I was in that toxic environment. My team wasn't as developed as they could or should have been. Especially in this day and age of ERP and data and things of that nature, they just wasn't up to that standard yet. So I did had to make a commitment to provide training on other items rather than just coming in and pointing the fingers and saying you're not good at this, because that's what they were dealing with on a regular basis. I mean, even when I came in, oh, you just gonna when I came into it, I was told by leadership, hey, Marcus, this team is a little lacking in this area in their technology, and they're slow to produce results, and they leave early and yada yada yada. And when I came into that whole environment, I really saw why they were. Everybody was scared to do anything, you know. They were scared to they were scared to try. They were scared to take risk. So again, by empowering, showing autonomy, and giving them power to make decisions, and letting them fail and helping them see where the failure was, or and helping them through it and training on the failure, we were able to build better teams, stronger teams. But that all came down to building those, feeling psychologically safe with trying and giving effort. So one of the things why it works, it empowers teams are more motivated and invested in the project's success. By doing this, you have people who will be more motivated and invested in the project success, and they take ownership and accept accountability. Next, they recognize efforts and celebrate small wins. Everybody wants to do that. I know that's something we always talk about, but this is something that is truly helpful when we are delivering projects. Celebrate the small wins. We need it. This is a high power toxic environment, and making them feel that they're getting somewhere and they are winning and completing tasks, that helps them psychologically and dealing with some of the things that they're dealing with in a high toxic, stressful environment. Next. Uh-oh, did I go back too far? Okay, let's
Marcus,
go back to the
before
polls. Oh,
before you
go
do the
ahead.
poll questions, there was two comments that actually were posted in regards to the slide that you had for expectations and role. Khadija mentioned, she said, I just ask and keep a running list. And then Moniqua put a comment that said, absolutely, they call it building the plane while you fly it.
I like that. I love that. Building the plane while you fly. I love that. That can be scary. But I totally love that analogy, or whatnot. So thank you. Thank you so much for the comments. Any others that are out there, please feel free to make the comments. And continue anytime, interrupt me. This is hey guys, this is Thursday night, ladies night. I know some of you are missing out on that happy hour. Hey, I hope you have a drink next to you, and you are just, yes, you have that drink next to you, and you came ready, because this is a sip, and what do you say, sip and paint? Well, this is a sip and vent, because that's what we need this. I mean, we're gonna get to that stress part, but sometimes dealing with toxic environments, God, you got you oh my gosh, heaven forbid you speak to somebody in that environment and they go back and tell someone. This is the actual safe space right here with all these project managers and stuff. So please, please let it out there. Put it in the comments. We definitely want to understand what everyone is going to. We need to listen to it. So right
Well, we
now,
had,
I want to.
well, Marcus, I'm going to
Uh-oh.
interrupt you. We do have a couple comments about having a healthy work environment. Nakia noted um, um, their company provides a workshop on mental health and wellness Fridays and massages during lunch. Khadijah noted, I let people know that I respect their expect the expertise they bring to the team and welcome their input.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Wait, let's go back to that one about the massages. Now, what they say, what happens? Mm,
She
I'm
said
So,
they
serious.
provide a, oh, I'll let you go.
oh, no problem. So it was like a wellness Friday that they did on certain Fridays. And during your
Hmm.
lunch, you can go down to, I guess, the first floor where you can go in the room one at a time, and then you can get a massage, like a quick little 10-minute massage. Then the next person come down. So we rotated. So we look forward to that. And it was like a
Oh
wellness
man.
Friday.
See, that's okay. Now that's an investment back into your people. I love to hear stories about that, because that's what companies should be doing. That's what, it may not even be able to afford that, But when you make a commitment to not only invest in training, but investing in some uh, stress relieving events, I would say, it really shows the team that you care about them. And I think that is so important. So I love that. Thank you so much, Nakoya, for Naquire for sharing that. Oh, you had another one,
Um,
Katina?
yeah, there's a comment by Shanice. Shanice, would you like to come off mute and share your comment, or would you like me to just read from what you put in the chat?
Hi, good evening. I have no problem sharing it, reading it verbatim. Well, good evening,
Yes.
everyone. I put that my manager and I we do weekly meetings, and he always encourages if I have anything to talk or if I have any issues, and he always provide me resources that the benefits that the company offers, and he always encourages me not to work late if he sees me working past like 5:30.
Mm.
He's like, get off. So that's the kind of relationship that my manager and I have that I definitely value.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much, Shanice. That's big right there, because I'm telling you, I have well, I'm just gonna be honest. Well, I can't say it. I know someone who's going through a very close person to me who is going through something like that, where they just started a new job, and it's like their manager works like almost 24/7, and they almost have that expectation out of them. They were so used to staying, the manager is there till 8 at night. So I guess, when they're leaving at 5 or 5:30, their boss is sitting there saying, hey, well, trying to see if there's something else they can get out of them for that day. And they have employees that come early just so they can leave at 5. They'll get there at 7 or 6:30, and still that manager or whatever is still looking at them to stay a little longer just to complete some things or whatnot. And even though they've done so much out of the day. So Shanice, that is, thank you for sharing. And I know some people who are going through some situations right now. And I want to talk just a little bit about boundaries. Boundaries is so big. And I think that's more of what Shanice was speaking on, in a sense of managers or leaders who respect others' boundaries. Because once you give up your boundaries, and I'm serious, when you have your boundaries, once you give up your boundaries to your professional career, to managers, to people at work, the people, and that can be time that you spend for yourself running or exercising, time you spend with your loved ones or whatever. When that information, and not information, when those corporate, your professional life enters into those boundaries, your other things that you would normally tend to in those boundaries, they leave. Your kids leave. Your spouses leave. And I don't mean just physically leave you. I mean, they just don't expect to hear from you because you're always working. They don't expect to get any feedback from you, or valuable feedback. They don't expect you to be there. And some of that is some stuff that I went through. Uh, Luckily, I was able to salvage uh, everything, wife, kids, all that. And I look back on that because I had totally just, my boundaries were just gone. And this is the thing. Once you try to set those boundaries back, it's hard to get that back because they expect that time out of you now. When you're working 3 at night and 2 in the morning, or whatever, to 2 and 3, that's what they expect. You set the expectations for people. So they're expecting that a lot of times. So you got to be careful about setting your boundaries and keeping them. So let's move on. Thank you again, Shanice. I'm glad you said that. Let's look at these other polls here. Have everybody taken the last poll questions? I think we're already here. Or do we need to take it?
No, we have 79% participating,
Okay.
so go ahead.
Okay. So we can go ahead. This is a good number. Okay. So real quick, let's go through this real quick. Do you feel comfortable discussing mental health concerns with your manager or team in a high pressure environment? Ooh, that's a good one. Yes, sometimes, but it depends on the situation. I agree. No, do I feel no, I don't feel comfortable. That's about 42%. I feel that that is a area there where B and C, about 84%, those who feel supported, that's awesome. That is a awesome place to be. Hold on to it. B and C, where you may, it depends on the situation, and no, I don't feel comfortable. That's where most people are. And you have to be careful who you share your trials with, the things you're going through. You really do. Because some people are there to just gather information and use it against you later on. Some people will use it to their benefit. And it can be trial. So what I've learned is it's really good to have a mentor if you have one. It is good to have a therapist if you have one. Please don't be shy about seeing a therapist if you need one. It's okay. It's not frowned upon, and it's okay to talk to a higher being or meditate. Uh, Me, I love the Lord. I love God. I go to church and I pray and I hope for the best and pray for the best. So that gives me solitude a lot of times in what I need to do. But I would tell everybody, bring that stuff outside sometimes until you feel, unless you feel really safe, like some of the others, the few others who have. It's best to just keep it outside, share it right out here outside of work, so it can't be either used against you or come up in some other session or whatnot.
Marcus,
Also,
we
ooh,
do
go
have
ahead, go ahead.
some people are looking for guidance on how do you set boundaries professionally? And I guess this question is for you, Marcus, or anybody in the chat who has an effective strategy that they have used.
Mm, the setting boundaries for me, oh gosh, that's a good one. Setting boundaries for me is, I will say this, it is, I've had to learn to set boundaries, and it still can be challenging because I'm driven. Understand that your drive is going to, if you're driven to get something, I want to get it done. And I'm so driven to get it done. I'm so driven to be the best, stay up at night because I'm almost there, and I want to be better or whatever. So that is my challenge, is the drive. And I have to be careful because others will use that to their advantage. They will use my drive to get stuff done, to do whatever to their advantage. So setting boundaries is not only uh, setting a time where you have to say no more. Now, as far as setting boundaries is concerned, you have to understand that sometimes in order to get certain projects done, you may have to go over those boundaries. You may have to kick them down a little bit at times, but you have to get back in harmony. You have to set them up. And the biggest thing is that by setting boundaries, you have to give others higher priority than what your work is, your career. So now my wife has a higher priority than she did when I was so driven. Tuesday night is half price movies over here at the what they call the Silver Lake Silver Spot. So it's half price movies and half price drinks, and they have a heavy pouring hand. All right. So, there have been a couple of Tuesdays, the Wednesdays that I got up and I wasn't ready to really take on the day's work, but I learned to enjoy that. And also getting up and taking that walk in the morning, it really helps me. That's a boundary where I have to have that time. I used to get up early just so I can get a good start early. Now, no, I take that time for me. And also, even at night, taking time to talk with my daughter. She's off in college now, which I missed a lot of her high school years because I was so driven and whatnot. But now we have a wonderful relationship, and I'm sharing this with you because it wasn't so wonderful at time. But I feel so full right now by setting those boundaries. I feel so much better now, so full, so richer in life than I did when I was an executive or whatnot. So uh, please set the boundaries, bring your people back into them, bring yourself and your time back in. Also, does anybody Does anybody have anything that they have for boundary setting that they want to share?
Well, in the chat, we have a lot of comments. Somebody was curious about the description you gave about your bosses gave you about the team. You said that they reported that the team left early. Was early meaning on time?
No, what was happening was that during that description, there was a couple of team members who used to come in on Friday, and they would come in early at 7 or 6:30 or 7, and they would leave at 3:30. However, because work was still happening after 3 or whatever, um, and accounting may have need checks printed or something in the system set up, they were never there at that time. They always wondered about that. So it was more of this, the communication and expectations said. In other words, they were just doing what they wanted to do. There was a lack of leadership within the department before I got there. So that had something to do with it. And what they did while they were there, um, how could I say it? They weren't being very productive. So to say it, they weren't really leaving on time. They were just coming in early and leaving, but it wasn't conducive to what other teams may need them because they were the only ones who were responsible for system updates or system settings for bank accounts and checks and stuff. So that came down to leadership and me coming in and saying, okay, we need to cross train. There are other people in the department who could do that too, as well. So we don't need that. We're not relying on that one person. If we wanted to give them that autonomy to come in early and leave on Friday due to whether it's ball games, kids, or whatever. So that was that was what that was about. What other questions there? Hope I answered that correctly. Well, not correctly,
Um,
by understanding.
There were a few comments in to your question about how do you set boundaries. Khadijah wrote, I relate them to our agreed to expectations. I often ask what we need to de-scope or prioritize when I see potential for failure. I ask for feedback often. I seek workplaces that prioritize psychological safety. It's a constant effort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's also mentioned start asking your network who's hiring and would they recommend working there. Shanice noted setting boundaries is learning to take PTO and not work on your PTO.
Mm.
She said, I do not have the work email on my phone. I like that because I took off my Teams and let it be known. I take my hour lunch and try to be strict about it. Um, Miriam put working late or early on occasion is one thing, but when it becomes commonplace and interferes with the quality of life, then you've allowed your employer to encroach on your time.
Right. Right. Yeah, and setting boundaries can be a challenge for me. I would say I had to do it, and I'll be honest with you, I'm still working through it at times, but because of just the fact of me being so driven. But the problem, not the problem, I just felt the impact from a personal standpoint, not only physical, but also relational wise with family and stuff. So that's a big thing there. Thank you. Thank you guys for those comments and everything. Keep them coming in. Also, I want to talk about as a project manager, number two on the third set of questions, as a project manager, which stress relief activity do you find most effective? Now, I love this in managing work-related stress. Looks like we have 61%. I don't know if everybody can see this, but 61% said they would take short breaks and walks. I like that. Short breaks and walks. I do that now. I work a lot at home a lot now. And it helps me because a lot of times I work late, so I don't get if you get up late in the morning, you don't get that morning time, or if you work late, you may not get that evening time. So taking that short breaks when you work from home, just going outside half a mile down the road and coming back, it should only take about 15 to 20 minutes. That's a good break and do it a couple of times. a day. Before you know it, you would have hit 2 or 3 miles within a day. And that's more than you would have done in a few days. So definitely make that time for yourself. Also, meditation or breathe deep breathing exercises. That's good. The meditation and breathing exercise, is that when, let me ask you guys that, whoever answered that, are you doing that when you are when somebody has really, how would I say, hit that last nerve or hit a couple of last nerves, and you're ready to take that deep meditation or breathing exercise, or is this something that you do throughout the day? For those who answered that.
If anyone who put those selected that answer for the poll, if you'd like to come off mute, yeah, feel free to do so, or
Yes.
put your answer in the chat. I mean, I see a lot of yes. I see getting good quality sleep.
Hmm. Yeah, the meditation and deep breathing exercise. For me, that's usually when somebody's hit a nerve. And I have to sit back and breathe, take deep breaths, meditate a little bit before I answer anything or say anything. And that can sometimes be in a meeting too. So definitely the deep breaths really work. The meditation is really works well, but um meditation, I have to have a quite some time. My meditation is usually at a golf range trying to hit balls. I love that. That takes my stress level away. All right, so let
Hold
me
on one
keep
second,
this.
Marcus. I have someone with
Ooh,
their hand raised.
oh, go ahead. Yes,
So,
yes.
so Rob, Shayna, you're gonna come off mute.
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Hey.
Hello.
Yes, you can.
Just because you had asked for one of us to come off of mute. Yes, it tends to be sort of when you encounter some unexpected twists in common sense. That's
Mm.
when, you start to have like the inhale, exhale. But for the meditation, I have noticed that it does tend to help um, either at the well, more so at the beginning of my workday than towards the end of it. And it also, like, occasionally, if I feel like I'm just getting irritated for no reason, I'll start to take deep breaths throughout the day. But more often than not, it is in response, it's a reactive situation.
Yeah, no, and that makes perfect sense. I mean, and yeah, that's when my meditation because somebody is, how can I say it? That's part of that emotional. Okay, now we're getting into something. That's part of that emotional intelligence. I say there's two things here about emotional intelligence, and it's all part of emotional capacity. Emotional intelligence, I say, is understanding who you are, your buttons, and when somebody's pressing them. What are your buttons? What are your triggers? What ticks you off? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? What pisses you off? I shouldn't say pisses, excuse me. What makes you upset? What bothers you? But also the ability to see what may uh tick someone else off, or what their its ability to see what other people are triggered by. That's that emotional intelligence that you have to garner and help with. But then there's also emotional control. That is having the ability to regulate how you respond when your triggers are pushed. When your when your triggers are pushed, it regulates your it regulates how you're going to respond to that. And I think that's one of the, not the challenging part, but that's when that meditation, that's where the deep breaths come in, because you know what you would like to say, but you have to calm down and step away, take those deep breaths so you can approach it in a way that will produce the outcome that you want. You know, sometimes it's not a tit for tat. I said I've given up paying tit for tat. I look for the outcome that I want, and that's how I respond. And that's one of the things, that how you develop your emotional intelligence, but also having the emotional control, not only to respond to people who push your triggers, but the emotional control not to respond back to push other people's triggers just because you know them or push their buttons because you know them. That's what it and that's because then it comes a tit for tat thing and and no one gets anywhere for that. All right. So let's keep this going. Thank you so much. I wasn't Shanice Robinson, was it? I didn't know her first name, but Miss Robinson. Thank you so much, Miss Robinson. And I'm sorry if I look over here, it's because I see the names over here, and I have I'm looking at the camera here, so I just wanted to make sure everyone understands that when I look over there, I'm just looking at the names, so I make sure I'm getting the right names. So, also, last but not least, how often do you incorporate stress release activities in your workday? The biggest thing here looks like is occasionally when stress levels are high. When they're high, let me tell you something about emotional capacity and stress level. If you have to relieve stress in order to be able to take on more stress, okay? Emotional capacity is your ability to is your ability to take on what's your capacity, what what is your capacity that you can, I can say, operate in emotionally. You know, if we're in a high toxic environment, it is so important that we relieve that stress, because if you don't, you're not going to have the empathy you need for when your daughter comes to you to say, oh, I broke up with my boyfriend, you know, or when your wife says, had a hard time today. You have to find a way to release that stress so that you can give them some of your time and your empathy so that you can be a better wife, husband, father, whatever that may be, friend. So it's important not to occasionally, when stress levels are high, it's finding ways to consistently uh, bring your stress levels down, work out, walk, whatever that may be, so that you can continually give the people the time that they need and ask for the time that you may need. Okay. So let's keep this going. I know we can go all day with this. Next, so after the polls, we're going to go into streamlining and leveraging technology. Now, these next few slides are going to be fairly simple and easy to understand, because I always feel that the processes in technology are not, they are big, but they're not the determining factors when it comes to harmony. Okay. It's all about starting off with the people. And that's what we've been dealing with mostly when we talk about work in toxic environments. So let's get into his streamlining and leveraging technology. So you want to be able to streamline your processes, improve efficiency by removing unnecessary steps. And you also want to leverage technology just uh, to utilize the right tools to enhance collaborations and accelerate things. So, these talks will help streamline processes and reduce distractions, and it enables your team to stay, I would say, productive and focused, even in toxic work environments. So, key task for streamlining processes. You want to prioritize and set clear deadlines. I know that's easier said, and we've always do it and we think we do it, but I want you to focus on that now, because even though it's a small detail that you continuously do, we need to be able to focus on the impact that has. Now, when you do focus on the most critical, focus on so in order to prioritize and set clear deadlines, excuse me, you want to focus on the most critical task and set clear, achievable deadlines and avoid overwhelming the team with too many competing priorities. Now, why that works is because this helps keep the team on track and ensures that energy is focused on the most impactful work. Also, you want to eliminate unnecessary meetings. Wow. Um, and how do you, on what to do? You want to cut down on redundant or unproductive meetings. Redundant or unproductive meetings. What I've learned in high toxic environments, a lot of times people just want to meet and they have these just check task lists, just checklists. I know the last one I was in a toxic environment, these meetings meant nothing. They did nothing. Everyone used to come in and say, I don't have nothing. Nothing for the team. Nothing for the team. Nothing for the team. And that was every single week. I mean, how could we be working and there's nothing for the team? I mean, where are we going? What are we doing? You know, where are we meeting our objectives and goals or whatnot? But yet we'll sit in there for almost 45 minutes to an hour to hear nothing for the team. And then somebody will come up with something and then we'll argue over that for about 20 minutes and they regret ever bringing it up. So, I mean, it was just one of those environments that was just really, really toxic and the meetings didn't help clear up anything. So, again, you want to cut down on redundant or unproductive meetings. Only schedule meetings when absolutely necessary and keep them focused and concise. I've been part of a project where we've been able to, on these agile projects where the agile methodology was used, and we had these huddle calls. We used to have about 4 to 5 meetings in 1 hour, but they hit, I mean, they would hit. People would go through, this is what we did today. This is what we're going to do tomorrow. Not tomorrow. This is what we did. This is what we completed yesterday. And here we are. Here are our stats. All right, next thing. And the um the guy who was over it, he was really good at keeping people on focus and on task. Okay, so why it works: too many meetings waste time and disrupt work. Fewer, more purposeful meetings create space for real progress. Next, we want to establish clear processes and tools. What to do: you want to implement standard operating procedures and use project management tools to streamline workflows, track progress, and avoid chaos. Why it works: clear processes reduce confusion, and the right tools enable the team to collaborate efficiently and stay organized. You know, like a change request management, you definitely want to make sure that the process is clear, how it goes and how, and understand how long it takes. Those are very big. We're dealing with something like that right now. Also, time blocking and focus work. Time blocking and focus work. Promote time blocking for deep work and encourage team members to focus on one task at a time. Minimizing multitasking. Why it works: blocking minimizes distractions and increases productivity by allowing the team to concentrate fully on task at hand. Okay. Also, we want to look at key steps to leverage technology to manage project efficiency. What to do: you want to use project management tools to organize tasks, assign responsibilities, and track progress. I know we love spreadsheets. I know we may love Google Sheets, but I'm telling you, those Asanas, the Smart Sheets, and Trello and Jira and a lot of these other things, they have a lot of automated features. They can give you analytics that can help you make better decisions, allocate resources, and make things run proficiently. So it really just, I know a lot of people love Excel sheets to track projects, and I've seen them do it really well. But I'm a really big fan of the automations, things that when you complete tasks, people are alerted and no one has to physically go out and send an email to let someone know. The system will do it for you. What to do: you want to use automated scheduling and reminders. You want to use automated scheduling tools to set up meetings and reminders without the constant back and forth. Okay, why it works is because it reduces the mental load of managing calendars, helps avoid double bookings, and ensures everyone stays on the same deadlines. Also, you want to key steps to leverage technology for stress reduction. Um, you want to foster clear, structured communication. You want to standardize your communication. I know in some of these projects, people are using Teams, Zoom, uh, Google Chats, and everyone on one project is using something totally different when we're bouncing around in these different platforms. At the beginning of these projects, you need to come up and you and the stakeholders and the PO, everybody needs to come up with one standard median that you agree on that you're going to use. That is the best thing to it because it's clear and you'll understand what files, if you use Teams, where they're going to be stored. If you're using meetup, you understand where the links will be. Everything is right there for you, and it's easier for people to navigate, make the meetings, and also see the visuals that they are presenting when you have them. Also, you wanted a wellness apps. Now, these wellness apps is to encourage the use of wellness apps for stress management and meditation. I still play Tetris, or this game for Tetris that's supposed to take away the stress, and it really does. It takes my mind off what I'm going through, and I have to focus on getting those blocks to fit just right so that they'll go down. I know a lot of you probably have played Tetris before, but that's one of the things that I love doing. So if you use Calm, Headspace, listen to podcasts, whatever apps you can do to bring that stress level down and just take yourself away, leverage that technology and apps to give that time back to yourself, to put something back into your emotional capacity. Also, going forward, last but not least, we want to create a culture of resilience, and that is really essential for success. Now, when we talk about creating a culture of resilience, we want to be able to show them what resilience means. We want to show one of the things that I used to do for my teams. I used to bring in these videos of emergency room operators when there was a mass shooting and they would go through this training. And I wanted them to show how they operated and communicated with one another. And it was so engaging to just watch when people were rolling in, they were suffering from being shot in a trauma center. I wanted them to show how the communication and the information is passed along, and people have their roles and responsibilities of what they are supposed to do, but also how one another, how they help each other. You have to show them how what a team does in crisis. In addition, I used to also show videos on great teams, the New England Patriots. Although I couldn't stand them, they didn't have the best athletes or the best athletes in the league, but they worked well together. And they worked well against a lot of teams. They probably had the best quarterback of all time in Tom Brady, but he didn't have all the best receivers. They were really good, but they were able to work well together, and that was that resilience, that no matter what, they didn't have these star players or whatever, but they were still able to make the playoffs and the Super Bowl over and over again. I think if you played for the New England Patriots back during the time when Tom Brady was there, if you were there, for the average player stayed there for like 2.66 years. Out of those 2.66 years, or almost 3 years, you were guaranteed that you were going to go to the Super Bowl at least one time. You got players that play in the league for 15, 16 years and never seen a playoff game. So that's what that resilience means for that team, that operational stuff. So by sharing information like that, sharing stories like that, the teams understand that they have to communicate, that they have to work through problems, and you build that place of psychological safety where we all can share and cultivate a culture that embraces change and supports each other through that change. Okay. So, last but not least, well, not last but not least, the key steps to create a culture of resilience is, as a leader, you want to demonstrate resilience by staying calm under pressure. That's you, the project manager. You want to stay calm under pressure and embrace challenges and showing adaptability. Also, why it works is that team members look to leadership for guidance. By modeling resilience, you set the tone for the entire team. Also, you want to foster open communication and transparency. That's huge. That feeling psychologically safe. I mean, that's probably one of the key things that you can do for a team in building that team of resilience, is being able to show where they're having problems, they can share it and understand how can we get through this together. Letting them know that they're not in this alone. They will return the favor when somebody else is showing and having a problem, and you will build that rapport amongst each other. Also, you want to encourage learning from failures and celebrating small wins. We just talked about that. You want to cultivate a mindset where failures are seen as opportunities. We fail, but what did we learn from it? Recognize and celebrate small victories. Okay. Hey, we got it. We got this one part fixed. We got the data loaded. The conversion went through well with only 5 errors this time instead of 20. Those are still small wins. It's not complete, but it's a small wins. You celebrate it. And why it works is because a culture that view failures as a learning experience is more likely to bounce back quickly. They celebrate progress, and it keeps the team motivated and focused on forward momentum. Okay. So these are things here just to keep these key steps to create that culture of resilience. The biggest thing is you have to model positive leadership and lead by example. Don't get don't succumb to cynicism in that toxic environment. Please don't. Because again, if you're sitting up and you're saying, I'm so tired of this, I can't deal with this anymore. Oh, wow, here we go again. When you start showing that cynicism, nobody feels that they can get through the day if the leader is showing cynicism. Imagine that Braveheart movie, if anybody ever saw that, when he was standing in front and they were getting ready, when they were all lined up, and Mel Gibson or William Wallace was lined up and they were getting ready to attack the English army. And if William Wallace just would have said, "Oh, there's too many of them, I'm about to run," if he would and he would have turned around and ran back, what do you think would have happened? Everybody else would have turned around and hightailed it with them. Well, I'm not going to risk myself. So, what do you think the team is going to do if you are showing cynicism in a project? You have to stay positive. You have to keep them focused, outcome over output. This is what it means for the project, and also know what it's going to mean for each one of them so they can keep their eyes on the prize. All right. So, our key takeaways for project managers: you want to pinpoint the root causes of dysfunction. Okay. Pinpointing root causes of the dysfunction helps you manage chaos before it impacts the project success. Two, you want to engage and align teams that engage and align the team. Three, you want to cut through the clutter to reduce inefficiencies. Those meetings that don't mean anything, that are not good or not productive, you want to cut them out. You want to, and four, you want to, the right takeaway, you want the right, leverage the right technology to enhance collaboration. And last but not least, five, you want to create a culture of resiliency. This is how you manage and harmonize noise. And I go back to the same thing. If you want a company that embraces change, optimizes operations, and maximizes the effectiveness of your technology, you must harmonize the mix. Harmonizing the mix is about orchestrating the balance between people, processes, and technology, much like crafting a hit song where every component works together in perfect rhythm. My name is Marcus Wilson, and I thank you for your time. And I hope this has been valuable to you, and I hope you've definitely been valuable to me. And I appreciate the effort that everybody has done in sharing themselves. I hope the cocktail was good. I hope the information was even better. And this is my QR code, and I will turn for my information. Please feel free to connect with me, and I will turn this over to Katima. And Katima.
So thank you so much, Marcus. This was an awesome presentation. Thank you everyone for engaging. I know we're coming up to time, but if you do have a few minutes and you would like to stay on, was there any questions, or that anyone like to come off mute to have any comments or any other feedback from some of the things that Marcus suggested? As you see on the screen, this is just our QR code for our survey for today. We'd love to continue to bring engaging topics as Marcus presented to us today. So please, if you have time, scan that QR code. Let us know how we did well today. If you don't have time to do the survey tonight, we will be sending it again. We will be sending you a copy of this presentation as well. Today's session was recorded, so this will also be posted on our YouTube page. There is one PDU that will be assigned. That will take a few weeks to come in, but it will be automatically registered to you for those who registered for those members who registered for tonight. And yes, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Marcus on his LinkedIn contact information. And I'll open the floor again for a few minutes in case anyone wants to say anything to close out the session. Any takers before we close out today? Okay, well, Marcus, I'm gonna let you say one more last, if you'd like, if anything else you'd like to say before we close out the session, I'll leave the floor to you.
No, I think
Okay.
I've said a lot. And I thank
Okay.
everyone for the feedback. And just last thing, everyone, please set those boundaries. Make sure you're giving your time back to not only yourself, but your family, your friends. Also set that time away for your spiritual guidance. And also it's very that has been huge for me as getting back to why I'm here and understanding my values. And once you have that, there's just certain things you're not going to accept, but always stay positive, stay forward thinking, outcome over output, and remember, you are the project manager and you have to set the tone for the project and always guide the ship with a clear, sunny horizon at the end. Hopefully, it will be. The horizon will be sunny at the end, and you just have to keep guiding people and keep them focused on reaching that destination. So, yeah,
Well, thank you, Marcus. So, on
thank
behalf
you.
of PMI South Florida, thank you, Marcus, again for our awesome presentation. Thank you all of everyone who attended the session tonight, and look forward to seeing you guys again.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Mhm.